That's right. It's another late night and time for another reach into the Just Giggle It grab bag. And tonight we're pulling out, ooh, look, a parody. It's Mad Men, The Hangover, exclamation point, parody. Just Giggle It sketch number 41, I believe. Written and directed by Piper Hinsen. Wow, what a coinky dink. Tiki, why are we covering yet another Piper Hinsen sketch on the grab bag? Pray tell.
Dragon for one reason and one reason only, because it's time to pay the piper.
Her due.
Ew.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait for it.
Looks like it's time to pay the piper. Griselda, seriously, it's time to pay the piper. Now go get my checkbook. Go, move, get out.
You know, that movie is far from perfect, but it did get a few things right. Anyway,
Dragon, it's that bit and the do a roar bit. Those are the two things that stick with me from that movie.
Yep.
Oh God. All right. Okay, so Dragon, this is a really interesting kind of crossroads that we have found ourselves in, my friend. You know why?
Why?
Because yay long ago, in the good old days when we were in the first season of the Just Giggle It grab bag, and we had that format going where we were doing one parody and one original sketch per episode, we covered, of course, the Stinky Rick Walking Dead parody. And Dragon, you knew nothing about The Walking Dead. You knew so little about The Walking Dead that you thought like the prison was just some sort of like slang or something.
I did think that, yes.
So here we are on the flip side of the coin, folks. Mad Men, it's definitely one of the many things in the long line of my catalog where I really need to look into it and watch it and get all caught up on the hype and everything. But you know, and I love John Hamm. I love John Hamm in movies. One of my favorite roles of his is Dragon. I'm sure you can agree. Bad Times at the El Royale. He had a short and sweet, really significant role that kind of shaped that whole movie, in my humble opinion.
And ironically enough, he is also in Shrek Forever After, given the clip that we played earlier. So again, it's all relative, folks.
But I know nothing about I know nothing about Mad Men, Dragon. I know very, very few things about Mad Men. I know that it's they're an ad agency, they drink a lot, it's in the 60s. I assume there's a lot of sex, a lot of cheating, as this parody would imply. Other than that, I got nothing, Dragon. So you're gonna have to kind of hold my hand to be my Mad Men guide. But it is really cool that this episode is not only starring, but directed by Piper Hinsen, my friend. That's a cool milestone that we're going to hit here on the good old month of the Piper.
And speak of our Hin season, one could say.
Oh, dear.
All right, well, I gave it a shot. Anyway, point being...
Is that a Harley Quinn segue?
No. I was been trying to get like the whole. It's our new Hin season of the grab bag.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was like, I thought what you were going for was like, and speaking of Hin season, you should watch the first season of Harley Quinn and the. All right, I'm sorry.
If I were to do a Harley Quinn Joker say, it would have been like the ad season, like Addison, but it's just really clunky. That's why I wouldn't have gone with that, because it's really clunky and stupid. But no, seriously, speaking of milestones, however, the proper segue. Speaking of milestones, just completely by sheer coincidence, folks, I swear to God, when we planned this season, had no earthly idea. Piper Hinsen's birthday falls on the day of this broadcast. So again, from Tiki and I, and from I'm sure everybody else who will eventually see this, and just I've also gotten seen some of this on the Just Giggle It forum, the unofficial Just Giggle It forum, that is the Discord page. We all want to collectively ourselves and just all the big Just Giggle and the Piper Hinsen fan base. But I want to wish her personally a happiest of happy birthdays, right?
Absolutely.
That one has brought nothing but just kind of talent, laughter, and just and wowed us constantly. So you know what, just if anyone deserves a happy birthday, it's that late. And of course, you gave us something to talk about here today. So as always, thank you. And of course, We don't have something to plug right now without the glue that is Addison, kind of that dot 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 at the end of the first episode of Harley Quinn, the Joker versus the Real World. Without Piper Hinsen, without that one, we have no others. Basically, we're missing one of the founders of JustGiggleIt. So if you want to follow the whole like kind of the breadcrumb time travel trail here, it's like, yep, well, then JustGiggleIt wouldn't exist. Therefore, we would definitely not have Harley Quinn the Joker, but probably we wouldn't have kind of the thing that elevates Harley Quinn the Joker as a series. But Tiki, you tell the folks about Harley Quinn the Joker.
Yeah, so folks, it's basically, there's a lot of YouTube series and a lot of parodies that are just like, hey, let's throw Harley Quinn and the Joker into a situation and make it funny. This series goes a step beyond, and they're like, all right, but what if we actually took it seriously and gave it pathos and gave it storylines and character development and a Harley Quinn and Joker dynamic that we really care about, with supporting characters that we might even care more about than the actual comic book characters. Hence the great Alex Poncio and Piper Hinsen being the big pillar supporting characters who are also great foundations in their own right to JustGiggleIt as a whole. And so essentially, Dragon, we have 5 wonderful episodes in the can, ready to be watched right now for your viewing pleasure. Watch them 1 through 5 because they are serialized, and then spread it around. Spread it to all your friends because we need this show to go out to more people. We need more eyes on it. And why is that, Dragon?
Well, specifically episode 5, because we get episode 5 up to 1 million views, then the rest of the episodes that are currently in production, specifically episode 6, which they're kind of trying to get like a big kind of a push with. The idea is episode 5 gets enough views. Episode 6, once it's in the can, just ready to be released, it will be released. People will watch it, and of course, just basically it's kind of the snake eating its tail sort of thing. Get the views up. Basically, once the views go up, as they naturally would be, as they were with the other videos, episodes will continue to be in production. They will dazzle us like the other 5. Because I mean, if you got to episode 5, surely you assumedly you like the other 4. Therefore, you want to keep it going, and you want to see what happens next. And again, that's the beauty of the show. You don't have to wait for like a. Right now, we're in a culture of proto Jokers. Don't get me wrong, that's all fine and dandy. But you know what? Darn it. 80 years of Batman, I want a full-fledged Joker, and you know what? I want a full-fledged Harley Quinn. And I don't want to have to wait till October until the streaming service stops dragging their feet. Anyway.
Wow, that was passionate.
Point being, Harley Quinn, if you want to satiate your Harley Quinn, your Joker craving, look no further. It's right here, and while you're looking for it and while you're waiting to, but I want episode 6. One, you share it around the place, but also you have a whole bunch of other sketches to check out. Now, getting us back onto the sketch topic. So, of course, this season on the Grab Bag, we're celebrating the wonderful acting and basically all-around prowess of Piper Hinsen, and specifically, and I chose the Mad Men parody for a couple reasons. The paramount reason being, I really love how Piper Hinsen directed this, and I remember this is one of the first ones I initially was kind of wowed by the fact that, oh wow, Piper Hinsen directed this. Well, let's see what her style looks like, because we've seen a number of the JustGiggleIt players kind of not only star in sketches, but also kind of try their hand at directing or writing them. And we've seen we have kind of like a nailed down style of these guys. Like Brian Wiley has a very distinct style.
Oh yeah.
Jason Ramlo, very distinct. Some of the best sketches are Ramlo specials, and of course Joshua Thomas usually is kind of probably got the most credits to his name, because the guy he's the mayor of hats. He's kind of the unofficial Mad Hatter of JustGiggleIt. The guy just loves hats. He loves directing, editing, writing them, and all sorts of other and starring him. The guy some would say glory hound. I would say the guy's just really passionate about what he does, and we love him for it. And anyway, my point of all this is, so again, I wanted to kind of diversify kind of our different ways we're kind of celebrating different aspects of Piper Hinsen with each of these videos, kind of talking about different facets of her, of the performer that she is. We kind of talked about her in the as the X factor of a sketch in If Buying an Orange Were Like Buying a Car. And here again, we're diving right into kind of the directorial prowess. Now, Tiki, this is kind of in the same vein of why I checked out If Buying an Orange Were Like Buying a Car, because the thumbnail interested me with this, because here's the thing, I was not a Mad Men fan like you are right now. I basically I had not checked out the series for a long time. Of course, you and I were both kind of knee deep in Breaking Bad. That's kind of where we were. We were in the trenches. I mean, in the positive way, like we were swimming in Breaking Bad in the universe when that was on AMC while Mad Men was going on. And you also
in the trenches of The Walking Dead, which is not as is great to be a part of.
Like, I was up to my waist in Breaking Bad, and of course, then Better Call Saul. You were up to your neck in Walking Dead.
Oh God.
Which now you can finally kind of wade through the water more. Now Walking Dead's kind of just gotten me like it's gotten to Arrow levels of ridiculous.
Dude, Walking Dead is just fucking ridiculous right now. I don't want to go into it, man. Jesus Christ, what a
see, Tiki's the smart one who's left his show. Me, I'm still watching. See, that's the difference between he and I. He's the lucky quitter. Me, not so much. Point being,
I'm proud of it when it comes to The Walking Dead, man. There's only so much shit I can handle in my life.
Yeah, me, I'm still going to the abuse meetings, and he's out there, And it's just it's sibling reveal after sibling reveal in the same season. What's happening?
All right, Dragon. I think we can kind of hit on a point here. Basically, The Walking Dead and Arrow have both turned into jokes, because they're stretched way past their initial hook, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that Mad Men did not do.
True. Yeah, Mad Men, I would say, bear in mind, I haven't really watched The Walking Dead, and I don't know, I haven't seen every show on AMC, but of the shows I have seen, I gotta tell you, I think Mad Men is quite good. I really do. And the reason I checked out Mad Men was twofold, and this is the main reason I want to do. So again, I've been seeing this video on Just Giggle It, with basically the thumbnail we had presented before ourselves, and I looked into the Mad Men intro. That's as far as really gotten the Mad Men. I've kind of seen it teased up a bit, and of course all the famous like John Hamm Batman stuff definitely piqued my interest. Like they keep going on the John Hamm Batman. Of course, the main image anyone would use for John Hamm Batman would be him as Bruce Wayne, and him as Bruce Wayne is pretty much him as Don Draper, which is a guy in a suit every episode. So I've been kind of hearing like all this like why is everyone saying John Hamm for Batman? I don't watch the show, man. I keep hearing John Hamm being talked up, but I don't get it. It was before I really got into the whole Hamm of it all. But so that was always on my mind. But the main. So I keep passing this video, and I wanted to wait to get to this one, and then I realized, well, you know what? After we covered the Walking Dead video, the Walking Dead parody, like, you know what? I want to actually know what the show is before I watch the parody. I don't necessarily have to, but in this case, I would like to, because I've been meaning to get in the Mad Men anyway. But we kept putting it off, and we kept doing other things. We weren't really psyched to get the Mad Men. Well, you weren't, and basically it was never really a priority. So the thing that pushed me over the edge was first off, again, it's just been kind of floating around the label, the iconography, just like again, it's a really beautiful logo, like that opening, basically the shot we had before. I don't know what it is about Mad Men. It's that great kind of stylized, kind of 60s retro design. It looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's very striking and eye-catching, and what I like about that even more is the fact that on a meta level, it reflects what the show is all about, which is kind of like big, like eye-catching marketing and stuff, you know what I mean? So it's
precisely.
It's very meta in that way, and I appreciate that, even though, the fact that it's an ad agency is pretty much the only thing I actually know about the show.
And I don't know if it was like maybe subconsciously it's like the opening is exactly like the scene from Catch Me If You Can. The same company may or may not have done it, and you have like all these other I had these other run-ins where like they did the Mickey Mouse parody with Walt Disney with in the Floyd Norman documentary they'd have like the Mouse Man where it's Walt Disney walking like Don Draper, and again so basically this thing kept getting thrown in my face, along with Just Giggle was kind of my point. Just Giggle was half of the last straw. Like what now we're gonna have to cover this eventually, so I might as well just get off my duff and I might as well just watch Mad Men. But the thing that absolutely pushed me over the edge of okay, I have to watch this now was Vince Gilligan. Vince Gilligan talked up the series on CNN did their retrospective on the decades, and they covered the 2000s. Yeah, they covered the 2000s, and Vince Gilligan they go to each TV show, like the really big eye-catching TV show of the decade, and Vince Gilligan was kind of giving me the premise of Mad Men, which I never knew. And the premise of Mad Men was Vince Gilligan saying he got, I don't know if he's watched all the show or not, but he was basically talking about the fact that, and they show a couple clips of it, where Don Draper, he had pretended. Basically, the whole thing hinges around Don Draper stealing the identity of another man. Like his real name is not Don Draper. It's a period piece. So during the Korean War, he was a soldier in the Korean War. It's just him and another guy.
Oh no!
But trust me, Tiki, trust me though. This is like better than you've ever seen this thing done before.
But you know what I'm thinking, right?
You're thinking of Skinner, right?
Yes.
But here's the thing, Tiki. Again, it's so
trippy.
It's so trippy because again, obviously this comes.
It's literally the principal and the pauper.
I know. That's the weird thing about it. That's the weird thing, and it's so trippy, Tiki, because you know that this came after that, but by the same token, it's like
Oh
how
man.
they did it
Oh
so much
man.
better, and they got a whole series out of it, and it was awesome. But
Wow.
okay,
Wow. Okay.
the point being, and again, this is really before I even kind of found out about the Skinner thing too. So I was just like, yeah, it was a fresh concept to me. So it's just Vince Gilligan talking about Don Draper. And they kind of revealed it really cryptically and awesomely in the first season, where again we have this mystery unfolding in season 1 about like what the heck is this mystery with Don Draper? Like why is he being worried about people recognizing him or like this old name that he had? And basically, again, without giving out like all the details, it's essentially that he was in an accident during the war, and he was lucked into this new identity, and he kind of rolled with basically the whole premise of the series. Is that it's a man branding himself as something else that is kind of indicative of the decade. You follow me?
Yeah, I follow you.
That's again like he's marketing himself, which is why he's so good at marketing, because the man's he has this whole identity that was kind of fabricated, and he's kind of ran with it ever since. So again, that's John. Again, John Hamm. He's the reason to check out the show. But there are other great things to like. I love John Slattery in that show. John, Howard Stark from the original from the Iron Man films. This is the thing that got him into those movies, the series. So it was great. Anyway, so the point is, Vince Gilligan and Piper Hinsen are the reason I checked out Mad Men. The thing that really helped push with the Just Giggle role is that Piper Hinsen. This is the main reason I want to give her great thanks up front here before we dive into it. It's a really short parody too, folks. That's why we're dedicating a little smidge extra here. Is that Piper Hinsen? The thing that kind of made me go back to the Mad Men sketch on Just Giggle in terms of like picking it for this and everything. And then again, the thing kind of along with Vince Gilligan that kind of got me into the thing was Piper Hinsen did this. Just Giggle It has been doing a small video series where it's like Just Ask, Just Giggle It, where it's like kind of the Q&A thing, the Q&A videos, And Piper Hinsen was talking about shows that she watched, and one of the shows that she mentioned was The Americans. She didn't mention Mad Men at all, but it made me curious, which made me go back to the Mad Men thing. It was like, oh man, it's like a psychological mind, it's like a mind game. Like, let's see what we can do to get them to check out this show.
Oh God!
No, I don't want to be self-important there, but seriously, she also mentioned The Americans, which again, purely on Piper Hinsen's recommendation, because initially I was like, come on, I was like, cross measures, come on, Bates Motel, come on, Bates Motel, and of course, I did not say Bates Motel, but she said The Americans. I've heard buzz about The Americans, so I checked it out, and again, literally like a day or two ago, to get ready for, not to get ready for this, but to just add a sheer coincidence. I finished The Americans per Piper Hinsen's recommendation. So I've seen 2 really solid TV shows, all thanks to Piper Hinsen. So again, ooey, thanks and many happy birthdays. Thank you, Piper Hinsen. So she's enriched my television, my kind of binging of 2 TV series there, and we're really good.
Nice.
Major thanks. Okay. All right. And in terms of background, we got basically one thing of background here to share up front. So of course, we covered a few parodies, as you mentioned, with The Walking Dead, and essentially Just Giggle It early on. I want to say after the Facebook sketch. I'm not entirely sure when, but it had to be before a certain point. They were doing parodies, and after, I guess, the first parody, or so, I mean, technically that's that one sketch that shall not be named here that Tiki knows, but I don't want to say it on air right now. That sketch, I think technically that would be their first parody.
We have to get to it eventually.
One day, but I am not going to be the one to pick it. Okay, the point being, that was like probably their earliest parody, and they had like probably a parody or so after that. Anyway, so they're doing parodies, and they kind of realize, you know what? Again, it's kind of a no-brainer, but it's like a stroke of brilliance type of moment here. Where, you know what? Why not? Joshua Thomas, he basically asked everybody, okay, guys, what shows and kind of movies and shows are you really deep cuts knowledge? Are you diehard fans of the show with? And basically kind of had a show of hands, and basically those people were going to be in charge of writing or directing said parodies, basically being deep in the involvement of the parody so they can get it like so on the money and so ridiculously right. And that's what they did for Walking Dead with Brian Wiley, and that's what they did here with Piper Hinsen. This was entirely her baby. From what I understand, the rest of them weren't really familiar with Mad Men. I know Joshua Thomas wasn't. I want to assume Brian Wiley wasn't, but this show does feel like his speed with the whole Twilight Zone of it all. So I don't know. It feels like a show of the era that would interest Brian Wiley, but I'm speculating over the wrong thing here. Point being, Piper Hinsen, this is all her baby here, man, and I think it shows. At least someone who knows the show in and out. And Tiki, after watching the show, again, per the Piper Hinsen hype of it all, I got to tell you, she got it ridiculously right. It's not a huge glimpse at the series, but for the glimpse we have here, it's ridiculously on the money in ways you will not understand until you watch the show, buddy boy.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that, Dragon, is that I was so lost my first time watching, like, you know, a quick Wikipedia glance. I was like, okay, let's see who is this character? I thought Don Draper's wife was Betty.
Well, you're not wrong. Oh, I'm gonna have a rant about Betty Draper when we get there. Just
okay.
Hold off. Okay, I got a whole rant.
All right, so you ready to dive in, buddy boy?
Yes, let's take a deep dive, man. Let's do it.
Okay, so it's The Office, and Dragon. Let me address this because this is one thing I'm curious about, given the parody nature of it. In Mad Men, is there kind of like a running thing where they don't get hangovers? Is that like they just drink conspicuous amounts of alcohol and hangovers are never addressed?
Well, here's the thing. So I'm not saying the hangovers are never addressed, but they are constantly drinking, and basically it's consequence-free hangovers. Like it's kind of like a brief, like maybe like you take an aspirin or something, then you're fine. But the hangovers are barely like rare. Only like after like a big party are the hangovers addressed, and they're barely even addressed. So pretty much, yeah, like hangovers are again. The point is like these people drink every episode, man. I mean, every episode, almost at every scene, someone's drinking. Okay. Pretty much every scene, if not every other scene, someone is drinking. So basically, hangovers are just like they're kind of a non-concern, non-entity. Hence, I believe, hence the premise of it all. And I wonder if a part of me was wondering just with the name of this thing, if The Hangover was supposed to be kind of a mixture of a parody of like Mad Men and the Hangover films. When I first just saw the title of this way back when.
Mashup.
That's a thing. Like, did you think that at all? Just seeing that title, like going through like the JustGiggleIt pages.
No, I didn't. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking of like possibilities for that. Like, Don Draper accidentally lets out a lion from the zoo.
I mean, that's the weird thing, because there's not. Bear in mind, I think they're going for the highbrow kind of hangover thing, where I think it's an inside joke.
Yeah. I don't think there's any Todd Phillips hangover. I really don't.
But the odd thing is, the character does have a tattoo that they don't remember getting. So.
Oh God.
You know, I'm not like I don't know. Just like I'm just a little fun little thing I always wanted to kind of note with this. Anyway, so but yeah, so this the premise of this whole thing.
What would be the '60s equivalent to to Mike Tyson if they did like a '60s hangover movie?
God, I'm trying. I'm gonna sound stupid here. I'm gonna think Joe Louis, maybe. Boxer, no, an old boxer. You just can't place the decade. Like if he would be big then, but let's see. I guess just getting out from boxing. I don't like Sinatra. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that one, Tiki.
Sidney Poitier.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right. Anyways, we're spending too much time.
Yes. Anyway, getting back on point. So we start. And by the way, I love you can. There are some really great Easter eggs here if you really pay attention. We have the set they're using. It's the same set from I Don't Watch Porn.
Okay.
Remember? Yeah. Anyway, so and it's so cool that basically, I guess by sheer coincidence and played wonderfully. Pretty much the offices in Mad Men, they have couches against the doors. So pretty much the setting here looks pretty on the money for a Mad Men set. Which you could it could be Don's office or Pete Campbell's office or possibly even Burt Cooper's office. But it'd be really strange if they're in Burt's office, given the two other characters are in the scene. Anyway, so we start with they're playing a very familiar piece of music. Tell me you recognize this music, Tiki, because I know what it's something you and I really love. It's from a show you and I love very much.
You know what? I recognize it, but why don't you tell the folks at home what it is? Okay,
so the official piece of music, I never knew the official name of this piece. I think it's called Summer Place. I think it's what the official name is, but you and I are going to recognize it from. Again, I knew I recognized this from someplace, because it's like one of those classic kind of stock music songs. But, I mean, I knew it from a very specific place. It's Relaxo Vision, Tiki, from Freakazoid. Relaxo Vision! Oh, God. Oh boy, just relax the vision based on some violence happening. You cut away to really pleasant scenery as the chaos is going on off screen. You can like you play the really pleasant lounging music. So we got to spend a bit on hearing the ending, especially because this is the thing that really blew me away about this parody, and hence the reason I chose this parody specifically. Because the other thing Piper Hinsen has directed and written, by the way, I forgot to mention this at the top. Last thing that you and I have talked about that she has done something like this with was When I Wish Upon a Star. You know, Ponzio's the star. I was the
That was
star.
really good. That was a really good one.
And that is, I know, I love that so much. Again, I got it. Piper Hinsen's style is just bombastically funny and well done.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about, man. This is the thing that enamors me. I mean, it's going to sound so sparing and so stupid, so forgive me, but I tell you, Tiki, I'm blown away by the pan here and just how perfectly composed this opening and closing shot is for this parody. I really am. I mean, I was geeking out over it so much. Where you have we have this perfect music choice because Mad Men is known for having these really great kind of music of the '60s playing throughout the series, all throughout. And sometimes they have these really great elaborate openings and kind of sequences that are set the music. And we have something akin to that where we're panning. It's a really great pan. Like Jimmy McGill, it's like if Jimmy McGill were here directing this, he'd be in the wheelchair, making like a makeshift dolly, but having it look like high art. And this is like the legit high art of it all here, folks. Where again, we're panning across the room, we're seeing our characters and one character out of frame, and of course we're going to kind of mirror that by the end of things here. It was just really great, just the aftermath chaos of kind of a hangover of a late night party, just like. This late night drinking went on the previous night. We're seeing like almost like the battle, the war torn kind of office space afterwards, which we had seen a couple times on Mad Men, especially after like the big Kennedy election. You know, like Kennedy versus Nixon. They were advertising the Nixon of the candidates, which of course was a losing battle, and in doing so, they all were drinking heavily. Like maybe we're in trouble if Nixon loses. So they're all. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the point is, it's a beautiful shot. And I love the pan of all this, man. The pan's beautiful. You see our actors. Who are actors, man?
See, our actors are, of course, Joshua Thomas.
He's playing Pete Campbell.
Yeah, now who is Pete Campbell, Dragon? You're gonna have to like give me like a 1-sentence explanation on these guys.
All right, Pete Campbell. He's this weaselly little character with an arc through the series, where he's a rich up and comer. His family, basically, he lucked into a job because his parents are rich, and his name means like Campbell, like it's like some sort of it's not Campbell's soup, but it's like just another form of. It comes from a lineage of like someone created something, therefore they come from. Mm-hmm. And Campbell basically he butted heads with Don Draper, and the point is he's just this wheezy little guy who kind of grows on you over time. That's pretty much Pete Campbell in a nutshell.
All right, we have Brian Wiley as Don Draper.
Which is excellent casting, man. I gotta tell you, I can't really think of who else would be kind of a perfect Don Draper amongst the Just Giggle It kind of alumni. Because I don't know, Brian Wiley just fits the mold perfectly. What do you think?
I guess I haven't really, like I said, I don't really know that much about Draper. I mean,
just John Hamm looking guys.
Sure. John, as far as John Hamm looking goes, yeah, sure, he's probably the most John Hamm looking out of the ensemble.
And then we have Joan. So Joan is Joan in Mad Men Tiki is the Christina Hendricks character, kind of the redhead kind of bombshell in every sense of the word. She's the secretary who's basically she's kind of the matriarch of the office. Like she's a really fascinating character. Again, she knows how the office workplace works in the '60s, and she's using it to her advantage. Like she's not. She's not like a gullible secretary. She's the secretary who helps out all the other. She runs the office essentially. That's her job.
Uh-huh.
And here she's played by someone I don't believe we've seen before, but I've said that before, and I've been doomed to fail when I've said that before. So I'm not going to presume anything. That's Jolene Anderson, who I think does an excellent job. The point is, I think the sketch is ridiculously well cast, and I think everyone's doing an excellent job in how they're bringing these characters to life. And again, if you watch the show, you're going to see like, oh my God, they're them. I don't know how they did it. They made a deal with the devil. They're them.
God.
So Joan starts us off here saying, I had too much to drink. Where's my skirt? And the thing she does perfectly, Tiki, is that she has Christina Hendricks' kind of whispery tone. Like that thing she has, like, again, it's kind of the simple no-brainer. Okay, if you had someone who was as busty as that character, it'd be kind of whispery, and it's kind of like that, almost that Marilyn Monroe type thing. It's kind of that whispery, kind of old kind of affect to the voice, and I think she does that perfectly here.
Gotcha.
And
so let's talk about like the kind of like the main hook of these gags here, Dragon, which is the sort of like over explaining their sexual activities.
Exactly, and the gag of it all here, very simply, is that,
like Simply Dragon. That's like that. It's a gag that like I can get behind, even though I don't know these characters. You know, and that I would say is a successful sketch. Like, you know, I very much like I don't like I know enough about the show to really pick up on where they're going with, you know, what the gag is trying to be. So, you know, it's not one of my favorite sketches, but I can at least follow along with the humor well enough.
But yeah, I mean, you're on the money though, Tiki. Where that's the thing. It's basically characters who are so ridiculously in denial, and that's pretty much what the show is. These characters ridiculously in denial, and like basically this whole thing could play like a deleted scene from Mad Men. That's what I mean by that, Tiki. Is that this scene is basically, what if we acknowledge the ridiculousness of Mad Men for a scene? Of just these people who can drink all the live long day and like do these, for the most part, again, do some really terrible, there's adultery all over the place in Mad Men. Like, you kind of address all this really bad stuff they're doing, and just we acknowledge the fact that they never address it in the show, but they, in this sketch, we see they are fully aware of what they're doing. So it's kind of great. It's kind of a meta deleted scene in a way. It's kind of how this whole sketch plays, which I think is delightful. And that's it. You know, that's kind of the tongue in cheek of it all here. But yes, the direct sketch as it plays are just people in denial about what happened the night before.
Oh, I must have torn my skirt off when I bent down for the file.
And look at me like an exhausted new mother. You know, I fell asleep, and I fell asleep on the floor. And a little fun fact: I'm gonna assume Piper Hinsen is deep in the trenches of Mad Men. She knows her stuff here because Joan did become a mother in the show's run. So maybe that's kind of where they're placing in the chronology of Mad Men. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but let's just say it's probably season 4 onward. Anyway. Okay, so then we have Don Draper here saying this. Yeah, babies make you tired, huh? Which is a very ironic line, given Don Draper has 2 children, and again, just kind of, you know, the absentee parent thing. He just comes by and get all the love from the kids while the mother does all the work. Like, yeah, babies, right?
All right, so then up pops Piper Hinsen playing
Megan.
All right, Dragon. So what's the deal here? What happened with Betty? Where's Betty? Or just subtextually like wrap it around in a weird way. Who's Betty?
Oh God. Okay. Look, let's put a pin in Betty for now. I want to talk about Megan.
Okay.
So this is Tiki again. I'm blown away by how well they're capturing these characters. And again, this is the big thing I want to really highlight here, is that Piper Hinsen has this chameleon-like quality. And again, of all the JustGiggleIt performers, and you could say this with Joshua Thomas and a whole number of them, and we've seen this for so many sketches. Tiki, these guys can just snap into these characterizations like that, and they're just, again, it's uncanny sometimes. And I think Piper Hinsen has always been kind of the queen among them in this regard, because we've seen Piper Hinsen play all sorts of roles, man. We've seen her play, we've seen her play children, both male and female. We've seen her play moms. We've seen her play mother-in-laws. We've seen her play, again, all sorts of things. She's going to play robots soon, with the Robo-Situ when that sketch comes up. So again, she's played Emily Blunt in A Quiet Place. And that's the thing, Tiki. Again, ridiculous. Again, as ridiculous as it just sounds after just listing all these roles, it kind of makes sense that again she has that kind of that chameleon-like quality. Where I could see her playing a number of roles. Again, with the Emily Blunt of all, she could play Mary Poppins, quite possibly. I
want to see that, my friend. Don't even tease me with that.
And that's what I'm saying. And beyond that, again, I'll make it fair. I mean, I could see her as, again, Norma Bates. If there is a God, Norma Bates. Sally Hawkins, if we're lucky, again, for a Shape of Water parody, again, there's a number of things. Again, she has one of those, again, she's that good, man. She could play it all.
I mean, she played Coral.
I'm blanking right now.
Walking Dead, Rick's son.
Right. So wait, his name's Coral?
Coral!
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's what. Anyway, every time I think using the boy example, I keep thinking of the kid from The Walking Dead, but I can never remember his name. So Coral, yes, you're absolutely right. That's the one.
It's not literally his name; it's just the way that Andrew Lincoln says his name.
Oh,
Coral.
It was just Carl, but you're putting emphasis on Coral.
Yes, but even the actors call him Coral now. It's just kind of stuck.
Wow, that makes me glad I did not get entrenched in working for a number of years. But yes. Anyway, so with Piper Hinsen, out of all of the actors here, which again are all doing a great job, again, she is the most uncanny out of the bunch here. Where I was like, I'm stupefied, like, oh my god, she became that actress. She became Megan Draper. It's uncanny. So Piper Hinsen, she makes her. So Megan Draper, she was, I believe, the second. I don't want to bog down with all the details. Let's just say she in the series of the show, she's the second, technically third wife of Don Draper. She's the good wife. She was my favorite of Don Draper's wives. So I really liked Megan. She was she was fun loving. I believe she was French. Yeah, she was cool. She was a lot of fun, really nice. So I liked Megan Draper. So. And so anyway, so Megan, of course, Megan was also again probably the most attractive of. Well, again, I don't want to be semantical about it because again, Don Draper has excellent taste. Well, surface level excellent taste in women. He does. And Megan, on the other hand, Megan again, she was he struck gold with Megan. She started off as a secretary, then eventually he married her. That's kind of how that went. And Don has a lot of problems, so I won't bog you down with all those. The point being, Megan. She just she worked in the office, hence the reason she's there, and they were co-workers while they were husband and wife, and so on and so forth, and it was a thing. So she pops up, and Piper Hinsen again, folks. I swear to God, it was not intentional. I did not factor this through when I picked these, but I did notice there are two quinky dinks. And this, and if buying an orange were like buying a car, we have yet again a topless Piper Hinsen. Kind of strange. I gotta admit, I did not put it together. So. Just bring it up in the context of again, it's going to sound weird. I'm not trying to be a prude about it here, but seriously, I do love the framing of this, where we see this all the time in TV, where you have like censorship, where you have like sometimes shows like sitcoms they'll stage out nudity, or they'll blur nudity, or so they'll use the pixels, they'll do it in some way, shape, or form. I got to tell you here, Tiki, what they did here kind of blew me away. Where I don't want to overemphasize, like, oh, look, I'll draw all focus here. But seriously, it's like a cool, subtle detail. This is a perfectly framed kind of censorship shot here, where the table is full of all these bottles and cups and everything. And, I'm sure she's wearing like a tube top or something. It doesn't matter. The point is it's not overtly censored, but it's like the power of suggestion. It's like basically it's like pulling, again, it's going to sound like a ridiculous comparison here, but it's like Psycho, where again the nudity is implied, and I love how clever she was with how she framed that shot. It's like kind of it's like a more refined version of what they did in Austin Powers. Instead of playing it for a gag, it's played for just like, yeah, they got away with it because it's all subtextual, and it's inferred into the mind. That's really clever how she framed that shot.
Oh man,
I made you uncomfortable with dedicating all that Hitchcockian focus to that shot, didn't I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry. It's it's fine. It's a well.
I mean, it's not just like Hitchcockian. It's like, all right, let's get into like the metatextual narrative. Oh man, oh wow, Dragon, you really went over my head there. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so let's just get off this. So the point is, again, I wanted to highlight some really good things with the directing, hence the choice of the episode. Okay, moving on.
I mean, I get you. I just kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting for you to go on this big soliloquy about it. Is all. I was like, okay, I'm just kind of sitting here, like, I don't know.
I mean, it is kind of cool, though, right?
No, it is. Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I agree with what you're saying, but it's just kind of a long-winded way to get there. But whatever. That's why we love you, anyways.
Anyway, so she says like, "Hi, honey," and again, just like she's like in a frantic, like she's again like all these like think about this again. People are just waking up in all sorts of again like a hangover after a really wild night. People are waking like Don's just waking up as Don Draper usually wakes up. Pete, we're gonna explore later what happened to him, and like Joan, she's missing a skirt, and Megan, she's missing her shirt, and just like covered with files, she just like said, "Oh, hi, honey," and then we have Pete just rationalizing this. What does he say?
Oh, you must have spilled something on your shirt, and you took it off again to go clean it.
Silly Megan.
I love that delivery from Joshua Thomas, Dragon.
And Tiki, again, I gotta tell you. I'm sorry?
Like, I know nothing about the character, but it's just the delivery makes me laugh. All right.
Again, Jasper Thomas, for someone who I'm assuming does not know the show, I don't know how. Well, again, what Piper Hinsen did, but she got a performance out of him that is identical to that voice of that character. Man, he looks enough like him. Again, that's the guy's a little different looking, but again, he sounds and acts. I don't know, he sounds just like him.
Nice.
Again, with that Weasley delivery, just like like the Weasley non-threatening guy. It's like basically a guy who thinks he can talk tough. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but he's like completely non-threatening. That's the thing kind of wins you over as the series goes on. It's like that Pete Campbell. He's making trouble for Don in the first season. I don't like him, but you know what? I don't know. He kind of grows on you. It's like, Campbell. By the end, it's like, all right, Pete, you're welcome to the club. All right, good. Grab your coat. Let's go for it. That sort of thing.
All right, and then Megan's just like, yeah, I'm so clumsy.
God. All right, so then we have so again the point is that they're all committing to these very surface level again the premise of the series basically what they're doing here is they're all committing to the surface level 60s charm, and that's the other big hook of the show, Tiki, where it's the idea of you're seeing a show about the 60s. You know, when we think about the 50s and the 60s, per Back to the Future or something or other such stuff, you're thinking of all the good stuff, right? You're thinking about all like the charm of the charm of the air, like all like.
Dragon, when I look back on the 50s, I think of like Enchantment Under the Sea dances and classic cars and rock and roll. I don't think of like nuclear tests and terrifying prospects of Cuban Missile crises and stuff like that.
Exactly, and that was the point of Mad Men, Tiki. The bigger point of the series was, again, you had like a man marketing himself, and the other half of it was we do this in a setting that is we don't romanticize the 60s as much as we're used to. Like it's all about the surface level, how you market the 60s in a surface level way we're used to. But what you're seeing unfold in the show, and like in The Office Place specifically, there's womanizing. There's there's a lot of really offensive stuff that's going on here that would never fly today, but they can get away with in the 60s. And
I'm Dragon.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally kidding. I'm sorry.
Anyway, but that's so it's really I like again basically they're kind of taking the premise of the show and what they're doing in this and what she's doing in kind of this short kind of 2-minute thing is kind of boiling down what the whole series is about and just the interactions of these people, which is quite interesting.
It kind of reminds me of like drunken friends with just as much sleeping around with each other.
You're not wrong. That's the scary thing. You're not wrong about it. and that's the thing. Like they're all avoiding the serious conversations about the implications. Like Don, again, it's the DNA of Don Draper and all these characters. Because again, they would sleep around with each other, they do all this stuff, but they would never directly address the consequence of their actions. It would have to be to a boiling point where it would blow up somehow. Like in the workplace, you never discuss this sort of thing, and that's what they're doing right now. They're rolling with the 60s kind of visage of it all. Like, hey, we're all just like kind of a cool, happy-go-lucky workplace. Right?
Okay, now that's what I want to bring up because that's what Don Draper says is he's like, well, okay, no matter what state of mind we were in, there are just certain things that we or I'm sorry, hold on.
Yeah, Pete, you're thinking of Pete right there. But we have Don. Don has a line though before that. So
go ahead with Don's line. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit.
So, well, first off, we have so after the whole, so clumsy. There's no way. And again, this is the denial of it all here. Where Megan's saying, "There's no way I would, I would screw enough. I would.
I'm married to Dawn, and I would never do that." Now, Dragon, correct me if I'm wrong. I hinted a little bit of sarcasm there in that delivery.
Here's the funny thing, Tiki. I was trying to rewatch through all Mad Men before we got to the Hinsen season here, so I would know this part, but I haven't quite gotten to the season 4 mark in my rewatch of it by the time we were doing this. So again, I can't quite remember from the first time I binged through the show if she slept around on him. I think I'm going to assume she did. That at least one time, but that's the thing. She was really good out of all the Don Draper wives. Like she didn't really, I can't remember if she legitimately cheated on him. If she did, it was like a one time, at least with one man, is what I'm looking at here. But I can't.
Because as someone who knows nothing about the character, I took that kind of sarcastic delivery to kind of hint at like, yeah, Megan sleeps around with Dom all the time.
Yeah, but Yeah, it's entirely possible. And again, it might have been like I think the plot line might have been that Don had cheated on her, and maybe that's it. Again, it could play either way, but again, unfortunately, I can't quite remember verbatim how that.
I guess that could be the joke. That could technically be the joke, is that she's, she's loyal to Dawn, and then Dawn is obviously a sack of shit.
And again, we see that in the sketch too. We see that there's definitely. So the point is, it's even if it's unclear, I think it still plays. But again, I'm going to assume that she did do that, but I'm just not remembering. So that's on me, folks. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Again, just someone just kind of looking into the sketch. Again, I think it plays. Again, Tiki can get that, so it kind of plays either way.
Mm.
All right, so then Don goes in the sales pitch, and this is where Brian Wiley again. It's not really a Don Draper centric sketch, impressively enough, and I like that. Again, none of them really kind of like the main lead of the thing here, but I love that Don's again kind of doing what Don Draper does best, and what John Hamm did so well in the show. And again, I like that Wiley again with the little bit that he has of Don Draper here. I love that he's just kind of nailing it right here. Basically, this is the closest thing you get to like a full like what the Don Draper Mad Men parody here, where Don goes into the sales pitch, and that again, he's the best at being a salesman, hence the whole identity thing I told you way earlier on. So he says, not to worry, we've all had a little too much to drink at the office, maybe we don't remember last night. So what? And of course, then we reveal on his sleeve, Betty Forever with a heart next to it. On this, and
all right.
Covered. Okay.
All right. Can we talk about Betty now?
Yes, let's talk about Betty now.
All right, let's talk about Betty. I've heard some things about Betty Dragon.
Oh, geez. The best comparison I could give to you, and I've had this comparison for a while. Best comparison. God. So, in case you're curious, so Betty Draper is the January Jones character. You remember January Jones from X-Men First Class, right?
I try not to, but yeah, she exists.
I remember when I was watching X-Men First Class, I was hoping, you know what? I hear she's good in that Mad Men show. I'm going to assume that she's really good in that show. And you know what? She tries. She tried. She's putting an effort into it.
Okay, to be fair, the worst part of her character wasn't the writing, wasn't the performance. It was literally the costume that made her look like a goddamn joke.
And again, that's kind of dicey because basically Emma Frost has had some less than flattering looks in the comics, and I don't want to get into it. The point is, January Jones is having a rough time with characters. That's the thing. Like, again, she's really bringing it in terms of the performance. But I hate Betty Draper. I really do. I hate the Betty Draper character.
Man.
So let me tell you this. So the best way I can put this, imagine.
So I'm going to assume it's like a worse Skylar White.
Well, yeah, and you kind of beat me to my punch. But yes, essentially. But that's the thing. Imagine. Let me be specific with you. Okay, imagine this. Imagine Skylar White, like season 2 at her worst. Skylar White. I'm talking the whole the Skylar White that is giving Walt the silent treatment like a petty child. Imagine that, but without like kind of Skylar White kind of having her moments. Like again, she has her moments basically when all her interactions with Saul Goodman. Then of course season 5. So
basically, it's Skylar White without the character arc of turning into like the mafia wife.
Yes.
Without any of the sympathetic redemption.
Essentially, yes, pretty much. It's like, again, Skylar White was not perfect, but it's basically Skylar at least had her moments. And again,
Skylar wasn't perfect, but at the very least, I think Vince Gilligan knew what he was doing with her every step of the way.
Exactly, and Gilligan stands by that character too, which I always respect that crap out of Vince. I don't know what's going to love fest about Vince Gilligan. I already did that enough at the start here, but the point being, yes, that's a great point. Yes. And Betty Draper, on the other hand, Tiki, and here's the thing. This is why I surmise by my interpretation of this with Piper Hinsen is that I think Piper Hinsen loves the Betty Draper character, and she doesn't like Megan. That's what my read on this whole thing was. See, that's what my read on it is. I think that's why we have this Betty.
Like Betty, you and her are on different sides of the fan war.
Yeah, and again, it's like to everybody, to each their own, by all means. And again, and here's the thing, here's the frustrating thing about Mad Men, because again, January Jones, she's committing to a performance. I don't want to take anything away from what January Jones is doing, but again, I hate how that character's written. I hate what they're doing. And Tiki, this is the problem with Betty Draper, is that it starts. Imagine basically Skylar White at the opposite end of the spectrum. All the interesting stuff with Betty Draper is at the start of the series, where again, I'm giving her a shot. It's like, okay, let me see where they're going with this. And then, of course, basically by the end of season 1 and basically going forward, especially going forward, that's when she just kind of jumps off the cliff. Or, oh wow, it's just they're This is not grabbing me because the idea, Tiki, is they're trying to. Betty Draper's a character where they're trying to say something about the decade with one character, and you can imply how that can go wrong. They're trying to say everything they want to say about women about housewives and women and the whole power struggle with one character, which you never want to thrust that all in one character. Because yes, they had a number of great female characters in Mad Men. I'm not going to take Peggy Olson and Joan, but I don't know. Some characters, specifically Betty Draper, it just on the rewatch, I just keep fast forwarding through all the Betty Draper scenes because I just can't stomach them. I just can't.
All right, so I'm just going to assume that Betty Draper and Don Draper got divorced at some point.
They did again, hence the remarrying. He remarried with Megan. Yeah.
All right, and you mentioned the third marriage, Dragon. What's that about? Did you like?
Okay, I'll give it to you simple, Tiki. All right, here's what happened. So again, Don Draper, the real Don Draper, and again, Tiki. I know this sounds
complicated. Okay, simple, but when you throw in the real Don Draper, it's like, all right.
Tiki, just take my word for it. I know this sounds crazy. I know it sounds all Skinner-like, but just take my word for it. Right? It is not confusing as it sounds in the way they lay it out in the show. It's perfectly fine. I know it sounds crazy, but okay, in all seriousness, basically, the identity that he took, again, the first person to find out that he was not who he said he was the widow of the actual dead Don Draper. And basically they had to annul the marriage. So he's never really married to her, but they had to annul the marriage. And
okay, gotcha.
So he's technically married. And then, of course, his actual marriage was with Betty Draper. And then, of course, when that fell through, he went with Megan. And for life of me, I can't remember if he got married a fourth time, but I think he had so many women. I know he's dating somebody. And Don Draper, he dates a lot of women on the side, as you can probably imagine. He has a lot of girlfriends. So it's kind of hard to keep track if he married the fourth one or not. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Point being, again, the important thing is Megan was the legit, that was when he kind of remarried and again married for better. And Betty Draper, on the whole, she was basically what they're trying to say with the generation is that she had issues in her childhood and in the housewife things, like you get married too fast, you want to be a housewife, and the idea is she was a petulant child. Basically, again, hence the Skylar White comparison with season 2, Tiki, is that Betty Draper was a petulant child, and they made a point of saying that in the writing, where constantly she would be having really childish, immature fights with her young daughter. Like, Tiki, there's stuff I could tell you that would blow your mind, but I don't want to take all day long. Like, she would lock her daughter, do the thing where her daughter, says, it's only like an equivalent to I hate you moment between a parent and a child. And, she locked her in a closet.
Jesus.
That's what I'm saying. Betty Draper, the point is, they would do all, and the message being, she has the emotional maturity of a child. And it's just ridiculous, and it's just I never liked it, and it never improved. And when Don got remarried, she took a lot of aggression out on Don, just really did really stupid, unreasonable things. You understand how it kind of got progressively worse, right?
Yeah, I can definitely envision that. Yes,
that's pretty much the gist of it. You kind of get to that's where I am on the spectrum of the whole the women of Don Draper. So anyway, so to me, again, that whole the Betty gag suggests to me that Piper Hinsen would really like the January Jones performance. And again, to each your own. Anyway, so point is, so let's see. So again, Don Draper now he's whether again the ins and outs of it all. The main takeaway is that Don Draper's non-committal, and that's the gist of who that character is. Again, he sleeps around with a lot of women, a lot of adultery. So it's Don Draper for non-committal.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the whole he's got a name of another woman who again it's like a fan nod too. That's the thing I love about it. I love it says Betty forever and addressing kind of the shipping fan base. I just love that. That's what I love about the tattoo. All right. Then I believe Pete Campbell. I think it's Pete Campbell saying, I'm sure we were all well behaved. Even in our drunk.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can I just analyze Dom's speech for a moment?
Yeah, sure. By all means, go on.
Again, I could be totally off base with this, right? So my reading of it was Dawn was basically trying to say, look, we all did things last night we regret. I'm sure all of us were a little bit sexually promiscuous, but let's just wipe it under the bus. Today's a brand new day. Let's go get some waffles at IHOP. Am I on point with that at all?
I love the inclusion of the waffles, but pretty much Don's a guy who again he'll sell the situation before dealing with the situation. Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty much that.
Okay.
Then we have classic Pete Campbell here, where then he again, and this is the gist of it, where Don Draper will sell something wonderfully, and then Pete Campbell will try to be at the Weasley guy trying to do it, but just in like a more inferior way to Don Draper. He says, "Look, we all work together, we all know each other very well," and it's like he's the guy who wants the last word. That's what Pete Campbell is. Just no matter what, he's the guy who wants the promotion, where Don knows he's going to get the promotion. That's basically their
right. That makes sense. Yeah.
No matter what state of mind we were in, there's certain things, certain lines we wouldn't cross. And as Pete Campbell, and they love this, by the way. I got a sense of this from the background. I was informed of from the source of JustGiggleIt. I was told they love this gag. I got a sense of that from their response here. So Joshua Thomas stands up as Pete Campbell, and again, another connective tissue to Tiki. You're not.
Yes, it is a connective tissue for sure.
Tiki, I have something mind blowing about this too, by the way.
Oh God. Okay.
So Pete stands up, and a black dildo plops out of Pete Campbell's butt. Never thought I'd have to say that on the grab bag, but
so that's awkward, right?
yeah. I think they love just kind of phrasing what happened there too. By the way, when they told me the background, basically, here's the background I'm about to tell you. Here's why I've been.
Oh God, okay. Hit me.
So, and again, folks, I swear to God, sheer coincidence, and they've said look out for prop continuity in the grab bag. But seriously, they used it here first. So again, there's a black dildo here, and if buying an orange or like buying a car, a dildo also appears in that. And Tiki, it's the same dildo, but they spray painted it for. It is. Get out
of here!
It is.
It's the same one.
So here's what they did, Tiki. Here's what they did.
Oh my God!
They spray painted it white, or like.
Oh my God!
That's the thing, and they gave us a great thing to look out for in the future. Again, it's like the same use of the set. Again, they used the I Don't Watch Porn set.
That's insane.
So again, like they're reusing sets, which we've always been kind of look out for, but apparently, again, there's a lot of reuse of props. And again, like this was the first time they used it, and then of course down the line, with buying an orange, really, buying a car. God. So they spray painted a lighter color, which I think they said white. It might have been white, somewhat of a fleshy color. I don't know. It was white, and they look pixelated, so it's perfectly fine. Regardless, that's what they did, and that's so trippy, and it makes you be on the lookout going forward. If you see any familiar looking props,
you know what, Dragon? You know what I say? Forget about hidden Mickeys, JGIs, and the hidden dildo book.
Dildo Baggins.
Oh God.
Anyway, sorry, obscure Leonard Nimoy songs aside. Okay. Let's see. But okay, so this is great in the direction too. So again, I love the contemplative silence of the group. Where again, these guys who are just so in denial, they're just taking a moment, take a beat. Like, how do we proceed? And again, the idea is like this stuff is always subtly in Mad Men. They always just kind of sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
Happening so directly and just so like undeniably. Again, it's doing JustGiggleIt does best. You rip the knob off at 11, where it's like, let's just take what Mad Men does so greatly, so kind of in that AMC kind of finesse. Does so well, and we just like make it a little less subtle, and then we just rip the knob off completely. He's like, "Yep." So literally, dildo falls out of Pete Campbell's butt.
Oh God!
As he tries to be the Weasley voice of reason,
Dragon, it's hard to be the voice of reason when you're holding a giant black dildo.
Okay, here's the thing that cracks me up about this. Again,
that's a challenging endeavor, my friend.
Now, I wonder if this was improvised. I would love to think that Piper Hinsen had the foresight to come up with this idea, but again, it probably could have just been Joshua Thomas having a great idea as well. So I don't know. The world may never know. But it's Megan's rationalization is hilarious, and as she's rationalizing, which I'll let you take, Pete is displaying the dildo in the worst ways. Because initially, again, I completely forgot about this rewatching. It's like he's just kind of holding in the worst position behind her.
Oh God, yeah, I see it now. Oh God.
And then he angles it in the wide shot. It's like, oh God, it's even worse. So he's just not helping your point. It's great visual comedy.
It's right at her groin. It's right at Pete's groin area, and it's also pointed right at her face.
Yeah, it's almost like an "I'm with stupid" sign initially, and then he angles it to kind of, let's just say, the natural pre-setting, if you will.
Dear.
Anyway, what's Megan's line here, Tiki?
Oh well, it's probably a client, and they sent it over so that we could get to know it, and then it just got stuck. Just got stuck up in your butt.
I'm sorry. So, okay, a little bit the breakdown there. Okay, first off, just the thing that cracks me up about it is like so that we can get to know it. And the thing that cracks me up about it is that yes, in the Mad Men, of course, the thing advertising, she want to get familiar with the product. That's what she means. But the way that line comes across to me, and I just love it, is that it comes across like it sounds like she's personifying it in the scene. Like we just got to know it, you know.
So basically, what you're saying is that they're going to pull a big mouth.
Oh man, why you gotta take it there? But yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm the anthropomorphic dildo, season 3, y'all.
Well, I wasn't thinking along those lines, but I mean, you're not wrong. But I would just say like it's why can't it just be inanimate, but just kind of like a beloved inanimate
I mean,
object.
I saw I watched the Big Mouth Valentine's Day special, and that was
I heard about that. Yeah,
surprisingly good. I wouldn't recommend it for you if you haven't watched the show, and I understand why you wouldn't watch the show. I get it, but let me just say that show, the character development is really on point.
Anyway, so then this is the hilarious thing is how the way again. Sometimes delivery goes the extra mile, folks. There's just no other way to say it. Just sometimes delivery is key. And again, Piper Hinsen. Again, we've talked about her as the director, and again, she's done a lot of great stuff here. Again, also her as the uncanny performer, but also her as I'm presuming it's not improvised, but I do want to, again, not every line can be improvised, but again, it's the way she's selling this line, buddy boy, the way she says, up in your butt. I don't know, something about it is just the pause. I think it's the pause before it. Again, like the pause just real, like, are you hearing yourself, lady? Like that sort of thing. Like, like her hearing herself for a moment, then just kind of like acknowledging the ridiculousness of up in your butt. So again, I'm getting a sense that's why they relish so much in revealing that little bit of backstory there, because again, I think that line probably cracked everybody up during a few takes. That'd be my guess. That'd be my guess. So then again, so then we have a beat where they all take in the ridiculous logic and they all make the choice. Basically, they make in the broader story sense of it all. They all make the choice of status quo to maintain the status quo and not talk about things. And then Joan makes the age-old suggestion: breakfast cocktails. Anyone?
Oh heck yeah! Sign me up.
Two for Megan. Then what's Pete's line?
Can we please not mention cocktails?
And here's the thing, Craig. I love the subtle gag here. I love where Pete is sitting and then lying on the couch, and of course, very tenderly.
Yeah.
And very tenderly for obvious reasons, Just anyway, so then we have again. Take this thing that I'm gonna kind of geek out about here. So again, then we have this beautiful full circle pan, and we go the opposite direction, and it's great. We play the same music. Pete's laying down again, so he's technically the character out of frame, like in place of Megan. So that's all great. And they're all in their ridiculous state of like undress or kind of disorder. And it's again, it's great. It's full circle again. Tiki, the fact that we got all of this within like 2.5 minutes is amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's it. That's the ball game.
All right. Yeah, Dragon. Of course, obviously, with me not having watched Mad Men at all, I could only guess on certain things, but yeah, I think it works well enough for what it is, without needing to know Mad Men, or at least knowing the surface level about it. It's basically just a sketch that's like really, just really has fun with like, all right, just how unsubtly can people hide their shame and hide their sexual promiscuity. And I think it has fun with that. It's a very simple premise, and it's executed really well. Piper Hinsen does definitely do some good things with the camera, especially those pans that you're talking about. And yeah, I don't have a ton more to say about it. I just think it's definitely not among my favorite JGI sketches. But if I actually sat down and took the time to really get into the show, then who knows? It might be a top 10 for me if I actually knew all the references and everything. So.
Yes, and in all fairness, folks, I had an unfair advantage on this one over Tiki. So like I probably would have the same experience that he had with it as well, and had I not watched the show. But again, it's still well made stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm glad you picked it for the directorial stuff. It's definitely worth covering. So.
Yes, for me, like the one regret I have about this after having watched the show, but again, had I not watched, I wouldn't have had this at all. Was that, again, I love the John Slattery character, and he was the only regret I had here because I so wish he was in this because I wonder if they would have gotten like Jesse McBride if they did they would have had like give him a white wig or something with his hair or something. Like that's the thing, my guy, because it's either that or they realized they didn't have someone who looked enough like John Slattery or who could do a good John Slattery. Because I was thinking initially before they revealed Pete Campbell, I was wondering going into this, are they going to have Joshua Thomas as Roger Sterling? And they didn't, and that's the John Slattery character. And they didn't, and it's fine. Again, the whole thing plays fine with the characters they did, because again, they did such a great uncanny job, and maybe they didn't want to chance it by going with the obvious thing. Let's have the other name brand character of the show in there just to have him in there. Where again, I think they made a strategic choice there. That's what I like to think of it as. But anyway, regardless, so that's my only nitpick. But on the whole, what this is, again, it's not sure if it's for the general crowd, because again, it is really kind of a great deep cuts, like almost like long lost deleted scene of Mad Men, the hilariously hilarious meta deleted scene of Mad Men. I love that it plays that way. It fits the quality of Mad Men, I feel, in a really great way. It's definitely more for the fans. I think it plays a lot more for the fans. It's got exceptional casting and performances. Again, identical performances. Again, that's the thing. This thing's cutting edge on performance. I mean, this might be some of the best. I don't know, TK. I don't want to just say it's the best ever, but in terms of, it's really on the mind in terms of like kind of capturing, capturing the essence of what you're parodying. It's really good. We've had that a lot. We've been blessed a lot with Just Giggle It parodies. So again, Quiet Place being one of those. So. It's hard to say, but it's it's a clever critique and reflection of Mad Men with the logical what if. The logical what if, like what if we questioned the constant drinking in the series and the constant just kind of carefreeness of the show in a way that reflects what the series is about. And again, it kind of adds, like, if you wanted to count this in continuity, which again, it's a parody, so you really shouldn't do that. But if you wanted to, you could basically say, they know exactly what they're doing. You could contextualize the whole series with these little moments in between episodes that we never see, where they do have these hangover moments where they kind of acknowledge, like, oh boy, crazy stuff happened, but we're not talking about it.
Yep.
As I mentioned, the Piper Hinsen of it all again is Megan Draper's games. Like again, it's like deal with the devil sorts of stuff with performance. But as far as directing goes, again, I'm still blown away by some of the stuff she did here. And again, there are some other Piper Hinsen sketches that we haven't quite gotten to yet. Some we might get to here. Some other stuff in general. Again, as we saw with When I Wish Upon a Star. In her direct, I want to see more Piper Hinsen directing, man. I think she does an excellent job when she's behind the camera, as well as in front of it. So anyway, I think we had a solid choice of kind of getting like another shade of Piper Hinsen, another kind of like another page in the book of Hinsen, if you will.
All right.
So again, last thing is happy birthdays to Piper Hinsen. We wouldn't have a Piper Hinsen themed season without her. So again. And legit happy birthdays from us and all of us. And again, just things have worked out for her. She got married. End of last year. So again, things have been going good for her. So again, just major props and happy birthdays all around. And I guess that does it for now until the next installment of the Grab Bag, or should I say, till the next reach into the Just Giggle It Grab Bag.